it's almost like I did tell you. It's almost like I did clue you in on what might be happening out in Minneapolis. The Vikings with a demonstrative win, the best win of the weekend, if you ask me, over the Houston Texans at home, 34-7. Sam Darnold, 4 touchdown passes. He leads the NFL in touchdown passes. Yes, that's Sam Darnold, the guy that they went out and got for one year, $10 million. And you juxtapose that up to what we saw the Jacksonville Jaguars invest into Trevor Lawrence. Looks like a bit of an overpay. What we saw the Detroit Lions pour into Jared Goff's contract, which, again, I mean, when you're chanting the dude's name at the draft, I get investing in the dude. He had you right there up on the brink of a Super Bowl. And then also, of course, the Dolphins and Tua, $50+ million for a guy who we don't know will ever step on the field again for the Dolphins. But the Vikings, they had the insight. Kevin O'Connell believed in Sam Darnold. And back when J.J. McCarthy had that tear in his meniscus and we learned he was out for the season, we came on here, on Theoretically Speaking, and we made a bit of a proclamation. We said, hey, don't count these Vikings out. Sam Darnold could be good for them. How about we hop in the memory machine before we talk about what happened today, just to give y'all a little bit of a clue into how we've been ahead of the curve on this. Let's take a listen back. Right there with the Vikings. They just paid Justin Jefferson. They're hopeful that this guy, Jordan Addison, is going to be a 1A, like a T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle style 1A to Justin Jefferson. And also with Brian Flores coaching up that defense, this is a team that their win total right now is 7.5. This is a team that can realistically, if they can overcome this really, really tough NFC North division, can expect to maybe win 9-10 games this year. That's not out of the realm of possibility. All right, now we're back here in present day. Again, that was during the preseason. We're back in present day, and as I look at the NFC North standings, starting from the bottom up, number one, in last place, the Chicago Bears. The Bears. Still time.
Yeah, we don't got to talk about every take that we made during the preseason. We're cherry-picking the important ones here. It's about the Vikings today.
Okay, and third place, the Green Bay Packers at 2-1. Great coaching. Great job. That was one of our picks and punchline picks for them, not just to win, but cover against the Titans. They did that and more. The Lions at 2-1. And the lone undefeated team in the NFC North, your Minnesota Vikings, and they haven't even really had the full slate of options out there because Jordan Addison's still out with injury. Sam Darnold has been the biggest revelation of the 2024 season so far. Sammy touchdowns, with 8 of them on the year so far, leading the Texans over playoff teams, over contenders. I'm talking about the San Francisco 49ers and the Houston Texans, and helping it happen in such a demonstrative style. Sam Darnold clearly was the best investment from this offseason because for a Vikings franchise who everybody felt like the NFC North was a 3-team race, the Bears, the Lions, and, of course, the Packers, who have a guy like Jordan Love who feels like he's another one of those future Hall of Famers. The Minnesota Vikings, the way that they've started off and the way that Sam Darnold has looked for them, I would not be shocked if this time next year we're talking about Sam Darnold still being the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings as J.J. McCarthy sits behind him. He's playing at that level. He's an early season MVP, and I cannot believe that we didn't see this coming, except we did, C-Cat, except we called it in the offseason. People need to lock in more and listen to Theoretically Speaking.
Is it too early to start calling teams about J.J. McCarthy and trading him? Man. Is it too early to start doing that? Am I getting a little premature here?
It's crazy to say, but also Sam Darnold is not old.
Yeah.
He's like that perfect – he's perfectly aged as a stopgap quarterback right now because he's 27. He's 27 years old. We talked about it before the show. Who's the big franchise quarterback, the big name who has so much, ground ahead of him? People are calling him a future Hall of Famer. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's older than Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
He's like, this guy has more of a runway to improve and be better than the guy that y'all have already crowned in Joe Burrow, who I told y'all this offseason as well. It's not Josh Allen, who's the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. It's Joe Burrow. And so far as the Bengals are 0-2, and they're the most desperate team now tonight, needing a win in Monday Night Football to remain relevant in the AFC, that's looking like more of that might be even stronger of a prediction that I made than the Sam Darnold breakout, because it kind of was clear to see that this would be at least a solid year from the Vikings. Sam Darnold looked solid in his little spat out there with the 49ers. He looked like a guy that finally started to get some things together. He's mature now. He's got rid of some of those losing ways.
Yeah, it certainly has. And I want to eat a lot of my words about the current quarterback of the 49ers, Brock Purdy, if they didn't go ahead and lose their game yesterday. I talked to you before the show where if the 49ers won yesterday, that was my big takeaway from the weekend where Christian Cat was wrong about the quarterback, Brock Purdy. But outside of that, Sam Darnold looks really good, and there's all those weapons there for a reason. They reinvested in at running back. I love what I'm seeing in Minnesota.
Minnesota is prime. They're like perfectly set up right now. If you look at the guys that were catching balls from Sam Darnold, he only had 17 completions but had 4 touchdowns. We got Justin Jefferson with 6 catches. He's always going to be around. He got a score. Aaron Jones got in the end zone, 5 catches out of the backfield. You got Jalen Naylor. Brandon Powell. It's not like he's doing this with a roster full of Pro Bowlers on the outside to go to. It's not like Sam Darnold is doing this against teams who aren't primed to be at the end of the season competing at a very high level. The Vikings just dog-walked the Texans. They literally just dog-walked the Texans on the same day that we saw Brock Purdy, who you were ready to apologize for, fall to the Los Angeles Rams, to the banged-up Rams who don't have any of their top weapons out there, on the same day where we saw Deshaun Watson, who had the most guaranteed money of all time until Dak Prescott beat him out. Both of those teams go down, and Watson does so against the New York Giants. He's actually had the worst start to a season based on expected points added, EPA, the worst start to a season through 3 games for any Browns quarterback in 2 decades. That is a abject failure, and it is going to be looked at on as one of the worst trades and signings in the history of the NFL. But you juxtapose that to a Vikings team who was patient, a Vikings team who had the eyesight, the vision to say, hey, Sam Darnold is a guy that not only can come in here and just be the starter until J.J. McCarthy steps into place. He could be a guy that we can have a long-term future with depending on how well he does with Kevin O'Connell. 3 games in, it looks super promising. And you know who else had the vision, the eyesight, the ability to kind of lock in and know Sam Darnold might be that guy?
Surely someone smarter than you.
Man, and it's very few people in this world, C-Cat. It's very few. I traveled the world this weekend. I went to Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to New York City for a wedding and a surprise birthday party. Didn't run into anybody that had more football wits than me, so I had to turn to the Pat McAfee show where Bill Belichick pulled up with all his Super Bowl rings.
Everybody has liked Darnold except the Jets. The people in Carolina that I talked to, they really liked him. He was, at the Rams and not for very long. They liked him. I think they want to re-sign him. He was looking for more of an opportunity than to play behind Stafford. And then, I know that Kevin and some of the coaches in Minnesota, they really like this guy too. So it seemed like the only people that didn't like Darnold were at the Jets.
And look at where the Jets stand, today. Solid position, but all of the quarterbacks that came through there now wheeling and dealing at another level. Geno Smith, undefeated with the Seahawks. Sam Darnold, undefeated with the Vikings. The Jets, limping along with Aaron Rodgers, hoping that they can be a top contender out of that division. I still got them winning the division because I'm sticking with my preseason picks, but I don't feel as good about it, especially with how I feel like the Bills are probably going to dog walk those Jaguars tonight. But I ask you, because to me it's easily and clearly Sam Darnold, the best addition of this offseason, and we don't have to just keep it with the NFL. We can also go college football because I'm looking at those Miami Hurricanes, and I'm saying, damn, if there's ever a time in which one dude flipped the entire trajectory of a franchise, of an organization, of a program, of a coach's future, Cam Ward to the Miami Hurricanes feels like that. He gave them so much moxie, so much poise, and the confidence, at least in me. C-Cat didn't believe in him this weekend.
Not at all.
But in me, this is a totally different Canes program. Who was the best offseason addition based on the first few weeks we've seen both in college football and the NFL, and how is it not Sam Darnold with the Minnesota Vikings, who stand atop the NFC North and look like contenders, not just to win that division, but potentially to win a couple playoff games? 888-760-3776, 888-760-3776. That's the number to call in. The Baptist Health Hotline here on Theoretically Speaking with myself, Theo Dorsey, and C-Cat. Who is the best offseason football edition? Which GM is an early front runner for Executive of the Year? and I'm rocking with those Vikings getting Sam Darnold. Are you experiencing foot and ankle pain and need to see an expert in the field? Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has a team of foot and ankle orthopedic surgeons and specialists who are regarded as leaders in their specialty. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho to learn more today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care combines its resources of experienced physicians and leading-edge treatments and technology to provide advanced orthopedic, foot and ankle, joint replacement, spine, and sports medicine care. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho for more information today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has offices conveniently located in Palm Beach County through the Florida Keys. Learn more by visiting baptisthealth.net/ortho. Sam Darnold, who leads the league right now in touchdown passes, who leads the Vikings into a magical, a huge, just a demonstrative win at home. And now the Vikings schedule gets a little tougher. It gets a little thicker as they walk into, again, this is going to be a bit of a gauntlet. I'll name these next 4 games for you, C-Cat. It doesn't get any easier, and it's not like it started easy. They're going to be at the Packers next Sunday. They're home to the Jets the Sunday after that, and then they're home to the Lions the following week. So at the Packers, home to the Jets, home to the Lions. Like, Sam Darnold still got a lot more work ahead of him, but 3 games in, it looks like that investment was clear cut ahead of many of the other additions we saw this offseason. Hit us up on the Baptist Health Hotline, 888-760-3776. Who was the greatest addition to a football team this offseason? And there's a lot of teams that are wishing they had a guy like Sam Darnold at quarterback. And maybe it's not just the teams like the Jets who used to have him. Maybe it's also some teams like the Browns who have a huge quarterback controversy ahead of them, mainly because of the fact that the guy they have, that they paid all that money and tied all that money into, he looks like a guy who is not just maybe not quit on his team, but I don't know if we're ever going to get those flashes of the MVP stardom that we saw in Deshaun Watson. I think those days are much behind us. And it's going to be a very long season for Browns fans and that front office with a lot of decisions ahead of them. 888-760-3776. 888-760-3776. That's the number to call in here to Theoretically Speaking. Who was the greatest offseason addition coming in as we're 3 weeks into the football season? We got Joe in Jupiter. Joe, you're here on Theoretically Speaking. And first and foremost, Joe, sorry for your loss.
I'm staying off the ledge because I've been calling this show for a long time, and when you were on with Ken Levick and stuff, y'all keep me from flying off the edge.
Yes.
And I call in for therapy.
Stay safe.
And I'm doing it today. Of course, I'm not going to do anything stupid. But, well, we witnessed yesterday afternoon. I think Derrick Henry. There's others, but Derrick Henry's acquisition to the Baltimore Ravens when we could have had him. He looks like he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
He's a monster. I think that's a fantastic pickup by the Ravens. I know that they started 0-2, but they're going to come around. Lamar Jackson is insanely good still, and Derrick Henry just runs over people. And the fact that we could have had him, and instead we can't even get more than 50 yards in a game against people that nobody even know probably. Oh, I'm sorry. Zeke, who's 60 years past his prime.
He's old.
He's old.
Yeah.
I know. Good guy. Wish him the best. But it's just so frustrating to watch, especially when you see it. The Ravens have beat us. They faced the Cowboys 7 times in their career. They destroyed us the last game at Texas Stadium in the freezing cold with 2 guys going for over 200 yards. I forget McClain and somebody else to end the season in 2008. They got our number, and then we get to see a guy that we could have picked up, but Jerry Jones said we didn't have the money.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he could have figured out. I'm pretty sure he could have figured out to get that money.
Appreciate the call, Joe. You're absolutely right. The Cowboys had one point of emphasis this offseason, and it should have been to address their lack of a rushing game. And there were backs out there. It wasn't just Derrick Henry. There were plenty of running backs out there that the Cowboys could have brought in and made a serious effort towards getting, including Derrick Henry, who, by the way, C-Cat, trains in Dallas. I believe has a home in Dallas, Texas. It was literally lined up. The stars were aligned to have a star on his helmet, and somehow, instead of doing so, the Cowboys stood pat. They sat on their hands. They really didn't bring anybody in this offseason. All they did was wait until the last minute to extend Dak Prescott and extend CeeDee Lamb. And, oh, what do you know? everybody knows exactly what they want to do on offense every single play.
It is beautiful seeing that 1-2 punch of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry be combined because 1-2 punch, those are two guys who can be one-man offenses. We've seen Lamar be the one-man punch with the Ravens for quite some time now.
Yes.
And we saw Derrick Henry be the same thing. The offense in one man, in one backfield with the Titans in his prime. You combine the two together, and it's ridiculous. You see rejuvenation in youth, what it looks like Lamar Jackson reverting back 5 years to when he entered the league, and the league had no idea how to handle him.
And that's the problem is the league has no idea how to handle Derrick Henry and Lamar in that same backfield right now. And because of the offensive line issues early on, which are going to get cleaned up as the year goes along, as well as I still think Todd Monken, as an offensive coordinator in his second year, he's going to continue to get the hang of this thing a little bit more as time goes along. Or I think Harbaugh is going to pull away some of those responsibilities from him and either him take over somehow or do something. Like the fact that you had to wait until this game to give that guy, Derrick Henry, 25 carries in what was maybe one of the most obvious moves ever. But leading into this game, you got your back against the wall. You're going up against the Cowboys defense where they are literally like a open tunnel when it comes to running right now. Like, hey, they're turnstile. They're like, come on in, pull up on us. They want you to try and throw because they know they cannot stop the run, and the Ravens just pounded them into a smithereen. I think 25 carries for Derrick Henry, $151, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson went over 80 yards on the ground. They kind of had their way. And then after the game, this is why even in the offseason too, I talked about we're not talking about the fact that the Ravens just added the ageless wonder, Derrick Henry, into their backfield. After the game, Lamar Jackson reiterated something that I've been saying. Once somebody gets the King nickname, King James, now King Henry, I think that's what we need to realize or decide, hey, age, we throw that out the window. They're just going to be good. They're going to be good until they decide to retire. Do you know anybody else with a King nickname that isn't playing well past their quote-unquote prime, well past their counterparts' prime, that look that physically gifted? It's just those two guys, and they won't go away.
Trying to think of another King nickname.
There's no other. You
coming
can't
up empty.
You can't give out. You do not give out the King nickname to normal people. And he's an alien, and LeBron James is an alien, and the one thing they share in common is the moniker, the King. Here's Lamar Jackson saying, hey, y'all might be shocked by what Derrick Henry pulled out here in week 3, but I'm not because I know what they call him.
Oh, man, I expect that from him, you know. You just got to give him lanes, just hold up and just let him do his thing, you know. He be busting his behind each and every practice. That's a guy who don't like to make mistakes. He showed off, you know. He did what kings do, you know, Derrick Henry.
That's what kings do, baby. Like, that's king stuff right there. No further commentary, no further addressing of that. He did what kings do. And you look at the Cowboys backfield, Rico Dowdle, 8 carries, 32 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, 3 carries, 6 yards. And then Deuce Vaughn, 5'3", Deuce Vaughn had a couple of carries for 5 yards. Turpin had a yard. If you can't run the ball, especially today in the NFL, you're going to struggle to win games. And the Cowboys are in danger of not just not winning their division, but missing the playoffs this year at this point.
Does the late comeback in that game change anything about how you view the Ravens-Cowboys game from yesterday?
Not at all, because apparently this is what the Ravens do. Like, it wasn't just what they did against the Raiders, letting the Raiders come back, Gardner Minshew turning into I don't even know what prime Aaron Rodgers against the Ravens defense in the fourth quarter a couple of weeks ago. But it also, if you think about it, has happened most of the time that the Ravens have lost games. They've given up these second half leads. They did it against the Dolphins a couple of years ago in that prolific 1 o'clock game that had everybody hanging on, especially fantasy football owners, because everybody was going off in that game. Like, the Ravens give up second half leads. I'm not sure how. I'm not sure why. And now that they have Derrick Henry, there's no excuse to be giving up second half leads late like that. But is it like the defense taking their foot off the pedal? Like, what do you as a Ravens fan assess that to?
Yeah, it seems like the offense taking their foot off the pedal. Like when the Ravens run the ball at a great, consistent rate, when have the entire playbook open, when you know Lamar can pull it and toss it into the second level. When you show your hand and show that the Ravens are only going to run the football, that's when the playing field gets leveled a whole lot more.
Right.
And that's what happens in the second half. Guys kind of just plan for the run, and only the run. And that's when you see them kind of show their weaknesses a little bit. But you saw in that 4-minute drive from the Ravens where if they did not get one more first down, the Cowboys would get the football back. 3rd and 6, the Ravens did not run the football because, guaranteed no risk of an incomplete pass to stop the clock. No, they trusted Lamar with the ball in his hands, throwing the football, connected with Zay Flowers. Of course, the risk there is incomplete pass, one less timeout that the Cowboys have to use, and it's 4th down. You got to punt the ball away. No, they trusted Lamar with the ball in his hands, throwing the football, connected for the first down, and then the rest was history.
How can you not, too? How can you not trust in Lamar Jackson, the 2-time MVP? He's had his blunders in big moments, but he also has had more times where he's come out successful. He did so on Sunday with the Ravens with their backs against the wall. We do have